Brett Favre situation. This was asked about. Not a lot of media coverage on it, so we're gonna talk about it. So I'm gonna I went through a thing. I sent it to Taylor as well, so he can kind of read it. I went and found some of the meat and potatoes of the article of what's going on with this Favre situation. So Favre built, obviously, this situation is Favre helped build a volleyball stadium for his old alma mater, University of Southern Mississippi, for his daughter, where she plays volleyball. So this is where it starts. It started by Favre reaching out to Government Bryan, where he agreed to give money to help build a stadium, but did not mention state funds to Favre. Once the project cost more than expected, Bryant told Favre to reach out to Tate Reeves for the rest of the money to build the volleyball facility. In 2017, before Reeves was governor, the Mississippi Department of Human Services directed $5 million to temporary assistance for needy families welfare funds to build a volleyball facility at the University of Southern Mississippi. So that bureau, I guess we'll just call it, that federal or state, what are you going to call that? State bureaucracy. They take care of low-income areas, impoverished communities and stuff like that. Most of those communities are minority communities. This is where they got the $5 million from. Now, Favre apparently did not know none of this. He's been denied it. But anyways, after getting help from MDHS officials, the celebrity athlete still owed the university $1.6 million for the project upon completion in 2020. By July 27th, however, Favre was in contact with Nancy New, whose nonprofit, the Mississippi Community Education Center, controlled millions in state welfare funds. That month, New arranged a meeting with then Mississippi Department of Human Services Director John Davis, who agreed to spend the $4 million, later $5 million, in the TANF funds on the volleyball project. April 30th, 2020, State Auditor Shad White revealed for the first time that MCEC had personally paid Favre $1.1 million in TANF funds for services that White would later say Favre never performed. These services were signing autographs to be put out, to be sold, and given speeches. Apparently, he never did any of that for the $1.1 million to finish the project. In a series of tweets, the athlete claimed in 2020 that he never received money for the obligations that he did not meet, and that he was not aware that where the money came from. Favre vowed to refund the full amount back to the state of Mississippi. He repaid $500,000 that month and promised to repay the remainder of the installments over the next few months. Nearly a year and a half later, Lamar County still said he had not paid it all back. October 2020, White issued a demand letter to Favre to repay the remaining $600,000. In addition to $228,000 in interest, the athlete repaid the $600,000 later that month to do the $1.1 million. So he paid the $1.1 million back that he took, that he said he did not know that was coming from the funds. But he did not pay the interest, $228,000. The filing says that Favre, unlike Davis and New, the other public officials, in fact, did not know about the funds and where they came from. He simply just thought he was getting the funds legally and that he would pay it all back eventually. April 2017, made a handshake deal with an athletic foundation where he committed to personally guarantee the funds for the brick and mortar construction of the volleyball facility. But in the state of Mississippi, I believe you cannot do a brick and mortar kind of contract pledge. It can just be the money, and then the school has to go about the rest. In 2027, there's text messages between the guys accepting such a large grant. He did not mention trying to find a way for John to allocate the money to that entity. And then, again, Favre repaid that $1.1 million. Taylor... Again, he has today denied, not today, but, as of recent, his lawyer said he has no responsibility in the audit or the monitor, let alone control. He did not know where the funds came from, and the $1.1 million had been paid for. The $5 million, it's already too late. The volleyball thing had been built. So Taylor, that Brett Favre situation, let me get your thoughts on that.
I think it deserves a little more news coverage. I will say that we have failed to mention this story on our show, which I do apologize to everybody because once you read into this story, look at all the evidence that has been brought up and the statements from everybody and the acts that were committed, it's definitely something that should be covered on ESPN, your mainstream medias, whether it be CNN, BBC News, or Fox News, whatever it is that you watch. It should be covered on these stations because this is it's illegal. I mean, what has been done is illegal. And Brett Favre, since we're going to be talking about what has happened recently, we should bring up his past scandals or allegations against him. So there was, of course, his drugs. He was addicted to Vicodin for a while, and the NFL punished him for that. I think it was so bad that he also had seizures at one point that were potentially deadly. There was the sexting allegation where he sent I think it was the Jets Game Time show host or something, sent her lewd pictures of himself. He got away with that. They said that there was
a massage therapist as well.
There wasn't enough evidence to say that it was him or came from him, which I think is baloney. I mean, you can trace text messages with ease. And then now the welfare fund scandal. I mean, there's plenty of evidence here. He was also interviewed by the FBI. He is failing to cooperate with this, just like he did with the sexting scandal. They said that he was very unwilling to cooperate with the investigation. If you're innocent, you should always cooperate. You should always,
Facts.
I mean, make sure you have a lawyer present. If anybody ever gets into any legal trouble, please take this advice. Before you answer any questions, make sure you have a lawyer present with you when answering these questions so they can tell you which questions to answer, how to properly answer it so you don't backtrack and you are telling the truth, whatever. But he did not cooperate. That's shady right there. If you're innocent, if the FBI comes to me and they're like, look, we're going to investigate you for this, are you going to cooperate? Yeah, absolutely. If I did not do it, here's my phone. Whatever you're looking for, go through it. You can check whatever you want. I'm innocent. I promise you, whatever you need from me, you've got it. But if you are not innocent, you are going to say, what? No, I'm not cooperating with you. I'm not going to answer your questions or anything like that. This is ludicrous. I did no such thing. That to me tells me that you've done something shady and something most likely illegal. That's a lot of money that could have gone to people in need. This university did not need a new facility. It's more of a want and a leisure and a benefit of going to the school. But there are people out there that need food, housing, water, shelter, schooling, all this other stuff. And now $5 million plus was taken away from that because Favre wanted to do something cool for his alma mater and his daughter's school where she was playing volleyball at. I think it's ridiculous. I think there needs to be more news coverage. I think one of the reasons why we didn't cover it as deep or even cover it on the show is due to the lack of coverage elsewhere. This
not
recently,
not an excuse, guys. But.
Yeah, not an excuse at all. But this recently came to my attention about all this stuff. I was completely unaware of what was going on. But there's so many other things that get the attention, and it's dove into, and it's constantly ran on social media, news outlets, and everything. And then you go and you read this, you read in depth everything that happened, and the allegations, and the investigation, and the lawsuits, and the money taken, and the money given, and the text messages sent into the people of political power that he was in communication with. Why is this not on every news outlet? I mean, this is big. This is juicy. This is a Hall of Fame Super Bowl winning quarterback that is stealing funds from people in need.
Yeah.
That right there is headline news. Brett Favre steals money from welfare program.
And yeah, it's not like he stole it from like the YMCA, where it's like, okay, it's not right, but it's not going to impact as many families as there's a lot of families who depend on that money for food, be able to pay bills each month, and just day-to-day living. So to think that it had the audacity to think, whether he knew about it or not, he has yet to come out and say that hey, where that money came from is wrong, and I vow to pay it all back, and that should not have happened. I'm sorry, I did not. He said he did not know where the money came from, but
so
that's not an apology.
But there's also a text message that said it was entered as evidence as part of this civil lawsuit that says he's asking former Mississippi Governor Phil Bryant, if you were to pay me this, is there any way for the media to find out where it came from and how much it was?
Yeah, and that's inclination.
That right there. That come on. That right there is admission to guilt in knowing that you knew where the money came from, straight up, and you knew how much it was. So,
yeah. So I mean, this Brett Favre thing, if it's true. It's not. There's no if. This is true. When it hits the court, and it comes down to handing out penalties, fines, and jail time, Favre should, in my opinion, receive some jail time because he's not just affecting one person. It's a whole community that is being affected by his actions simply because of a volleyball facility. That is, like you said, is not a need, but more than a want for his daughter and his alma mater. It's just,
and
go ahead.
And the other thing is Mississippi is one of the poorest states, if not the poorest state in the country. And these funds need to go to these people. I mean, they're already at a disadvantage being from that state because it's one of the poorest states, poorly funded, and then you're going to chip in more and take away the little bit that these people have to survive and try and have a better life. It's disgusting.
Yeah, I agree. I think listen, and we're coming from a place of this doesn't affect. I don't live in Mississippi. This is not going to physically affect me, but to see my fellow Americans, to see my fellow people who are struggling day to day and then get screwed over by the system that's put in place to help them, the bureaucracy, and the bureaucrats, similarly, we're just going to take the money from these people. We're going to kind of just move it around and do what we want with it to help certain people in our circle. That is 100% wrong, and those people deserve to rot in prison. And Brett Favre should follow.
Yep.
They're not going to... Taylor agrees. There's not going to be a lot of people out there who don't agree. There's, of course, going to be some people. But if you really take a step back from the situation, you take away from the fact that he's an NFL Hall of Famer glasses and stuff like that, and just look at the situation from an unbiased, I don't care who he is situation. If he was anybody else, he'd already be locked up.
Agreed.
So the fact that Favre has this privilege to sit there and just deny, do his own thing, and just, it's like he doesn't care about what happened. He cares that he got caught. He doesn't care what happened to the families that are going to be affected by this, which is completely wrong. And guys, we got that from, let me cite my source here to let you guys know if you guys want to look it up. Where's that? I sent you the link, didn't I?
Yeah.
Let me see. Sorry, guys. MississippiFreePress.org. They go into full detail. They go into way more detail than obviously we went in. Like I said, I grabbed some bits and pieces from it. The kind of like the meat and potatoes to kind of give a gist of the of what's going on. But if you want to read the full article, go to MississippiStatePress.org, freepress.org, to read that full article. It's a good article. It's a good read if you're trying to catch up and find all the information that is up to date on it. I think it was last updated like 4 or 5 days ago. So it is pretty recent. We're citing our sources. We cite our sources, the Jackson State thing, but we're citing our sources, TikTok. We're citing our sources.
Doing our best this time.
Yeah.
Making sure there's no crumbs left.
Yeah. All right.